So this morning, the Media Development and Diversity Agency, that's the MDDA, is hosting its annual funders breakfast with current and prospective funders to showcase the MDDA's key interventions in the community broadcasting, community print and digital sector. The event is aimed at ensuring full transparency, accountability to MDDA funders and partners on the disbursement of their funds to the sector and other support. So during the event, the agency is also expected to showcase the gains in the community media sector that have benefited from the utilisation of previous funding and to present future plans for the year or the financial year ahead. SABC reporter Nosipho Mncube is at the event. Let's cross over to her now. Nosipho, good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Leanne. We are coming to you from Emperor's Palace in the east of Johannesburg, where, as you have mentioned, the Media Development and Diversity Agency will be hosting its fundraising event this morning. We are about 20 minutes away from the beginning of that formal program, where we will be expected to hear what the agency's plans are with their fundraising for the year. As we know that the agency deals mostly with offering its support to community-based media organizations in partnership with SA government as well as private broadcasters who will be able to offer their assistance. But I have with me now the Minister in the Presidency, and that is Ms. Thembi Siweya. Thank you so much, Ms. Thembi Siweya. That is the Deputy Minister, by the way. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for your time, Ms. Thembi Siweya. Please speak to us about what we're seeing today with the fundraising event that is meant to take place, as well as speak to us about challenges you've seen in the past, taking into consideration COVID-19 as well, with revenue and offering support to the agency who offers their support to these community-based organizations.
Thank you very much, and good morning to the listeners. Thank you for having us. We're really happy as the presidency for the good work which the MDDA is continuing to do. Today we are here as part of their annual celebration of hosting the potential funders and existing funders of the agency. So basically what is going to be happening today is that we want to appreciate the support which the private sector has continued to assist the development agency, but also to lay new potential funders so that they can come on board and assist the agency so that they can have a lot of resources to be able to assist your community media platform. You'd know that government is able to do to a particular extent, and of course you'd need an extra hand, and that hand, for example, today is that important annual event that we're doing. We could not do it last year because of the effects of the pandemic. We're really happy that this year is taking place, and the plan of the funders breakfast is that it's supposed to take place annually.
What is the role of the MDDA in terms of offering its support to these stations or community-based organizations?
Simply put, is that the MDDA is tasked with the responsibility of funding your community TV, community radio, and community print. And this is stipulated in the Act of 2003, and what they're supposed to do is that they're supposed to offer either financial funding through grants, it can also be through research, it can also be through skills transfer in relation to workshops to ensure that the platforms, the community platforms, are enabled with the capacity to ensure that they run effective community media platforms. And the agency of the Media Development Agency, the MDDA, is tasked with that responsibility, and that responsibility, to a larger extent, also goes into tapping into resources, because beyond providing training, if you want to train your media platforms, you need to pump resources into them, and therefore that's why it's important that we assist the agency to be able to fulfill its own mandate.
And how can the MDDA offer its support to the community media sector, especially in such a time? I mean, we're now easing our restrictions, but I can imagine that during the harder lockdowns, it might have been quite difficult, as you're saying, with offering its training, as well as the process of issuing out those grants to support those community-based media outlets.
Look, we also want to commend the institution that amidst the pandemic, they had what you call a a COVID relief fund which was given to community media platforms so that they can remain afloat amid the pandemic. What the MDDA needs to continue to do is to continue to offer the very much needed support in relation to training, is to ensure that we also train the community media platform about how do you run effective, efficient community platforms which are ICASA compliant, for example, in cases where there is ICASA. But also MDDA has got a responsibility to ensure that they continue with our sister department, the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, to talk to cheaper tariffs in relation to Centec, so that, for example, with community media platforms, they can remain and respect their own license. You know that if you're a community media platform radio, for example, and you're not compliant with the ICASA regulations, your license can be revoked. So MDD has got a responsibility to work with the sister department, ICASA and Centec, in that regard, to offer the much needed training. We also have got, they also should be looking, which they are also doing, leveraging into relations with, for example, with relevant sitters, which can then be able to offer the much needed capacity to board members of these platforms, to station managers, to editors, and also tap into platforms of even our own sister radio station like yourself as the SABC, which are also part of our funders, by the way, and we really appreciate. And then in that way, you are able to give back, and we empower and transform the community media landscape.
So as the presidency, how are you then able to ensure sustainability, that these community stations are able to sustain themselves beyond the assistance that they receive from the MDDA, as well as all the partners that are involved?
Look, it's a two-way stream. We are tasked with the responsibility to provide that political oversight, but that political oversight comes with ensuring that we train and we encourage MDDA to encourage our community platforms that, one, you need to ensure that, for example, I'll give you a practical example, that in newspapers you have got strong marketing units which can be able to galvanize for the support so that they can continue to generate revenue, which is important for them to remain afloat. It is also for us to be able that we must continue to ensure, which is a process which is also part of what they are doing currently, to ensure that the Act lives up to daily technologies which are advancing in the community media space or in the media landscape platforms, which are going to ensure that they can remain relevant and our people can continue to utilize them. So it's important that also the Act, which at the time when it was formed, it did not necessarily speak to all the issues which are happening today in relation to fourth iron transformation, are then brought into book so that the community media landscape can be abreast and be in touch with the realities of today.
And in line with the President's speech in 2019, his SONA speech, with the 7 key priorities, how do we as the Presidency ensure that these community stations or these community organizations are a catalyst for transformation and job creation within their communities?
Yeah, look, those priorities, they've been reviewed, and I'm happy that the first one, reordering of them, talks about a capable, ethical, developmental state, which says, number one, before we can even speak about what is it that the community media platforms does, is that you need an efficient and effective MDDA, which is able to outroll its mandate. When it's able to do that, it is going to be able to assist our community media platforms. We see the community media platform as a base for job creation. We see it as a base for skills transfer. If you speak to your journalists, your editors, who are in your mainstream community media platforms, and you ask them where did they start, they started in the community media platform. In an era where young people have got skills, need skills, where young people are not employed, it is important that we promote and we support these platforms so that we can ensure that skills are transferred. Our young people, through being journalists, editors, can also find expression. But what is also most importantly, and we want to encourage our people, is that we are looking for more women. to also come and participate, to come and own these media platforms, which the number is a little bit low. So we continue to encourage that women must come out, take up, own print media houses, own community radio stations, own participate in forming NGOs, which are going to form a lot more of community TV, so that in relation to the skills transfer, in relation to the job creation and that catalyst, it casts across. You cannot say you are developing a country or a society or a people while you are leaving your women behind. And therefore, in everything that they do, we continue to speak to them in relation to be conscious in ensuring that you empower women, young women, so that they can be at the same level, same opportunities, just like your male counterparts.
And why is that? I mean, is this an observation that you have made over the years of the gap between the women who are holding these positions of power, especially within the community stations?
Look, the community media landscape has been transforming post-1994 until then an act was founded in 2003. And part of those principles of founding the act was to ensure that we transform, we empower our communities. But there was also a conscious acknowledgement based on evidence that exists that our women had been left behind for particular reasons and so on. And part of redressing that patriarchy is to ensure that you need an institution which can be conscious in relation to saying, as part of developing the community media landscape, it will not be a complete transformation, a complete overhaul if women are not given the same platform and encouraged so that they can also participate in the platform. And we're really happy about the work that they have been able to do, even in relation to funding platforms which are owned by women. And the encouragement is that we think that they can do more, but in that doing more, you would need more women to come out and say, I'm also interested. I want also to form my own community platform, and therefore how does the MDDA assist me, or where can you point me so that I'm able to go and get the assistance that I require.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. That's the Deputy Minister, Ms. Thembi Siweya, who was just speaking to us about what to expect with today's fundraisers breakfast. A little later, we will be speaking to some representatives from the MDDA as to what we can expect as well from their side and the partnerships that they have made, people that have come on board to offer their assistance to these community-based organizations and media outlets as they are hosting their fundraiser event here at Empress Palace in the east of Johannesburg.